Yay! It's you, and welcome back to The One Behind the Lens, your go-to podcast for real talk about photography, creativity, and everything behind the scenes. Today's episode is a powerhouse. It's called The One About Photography Pricing, Mindset Shifts, and Full Service Success. And I am so excited to be chatting with Renee Bowen. Renee is not just a professional photographer with over 20 years of experience specializing in branding and luxury senior portraits. She's also a podcast host and coach for creative entrepreneurs who want to level up their business and their mindset. What makes Renee truly stand out? She combines her psychology degree and her photography in a style she calls tried and true with a dash of woo. In this episode, Renee and I dive deep into pricing strategies that actually work, shifting your mindset to embrace your worth, and how to build a full-service photography business that feels authentic and sustainable. If you've ever struggled with pricing or felt stuck in your creative business headspace, this episode is for you. So grab your favorite beverage, get cozy, and let's jump right in. Welcome to The One Behind the Lens, the show for photographers building bold, beautiful businesses behind the lens. I'm Kate Biz Bestie, and I got one thing to say before we begin. I am so excited to have this guest, Renee. I have known you for a long time. You've been a mentor of mine for a very long time, and I'm so glad to have you here.
I am thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
So first, I just want you to give like a little snippets, of your journey into photography.
Oh, okay. We're going way back.
I know.
So let's talk about no. So my dad's a photographer. Like I grew up watching him develop stuff in the bathroom, like when I was a kid, and then my parents got divorced and then that ended, and I kind of maybe always felt a connection to it subconsciously. I don't know. I have just always enjoyed it, but I never thought that it was going to be a career for me. Like it was not even on my radar. I went to college and got a degree in psychology, like that sort of thing. Right. And so I did not find my way back to photography until I started having kids and my oldest was born. My father-in-law at the time gifted us this really nice camera. And because he was really into photography, which I thought was really cool. He loved photographs, put it that way. He wasn't a photographer, but like he had this wall of photos in his house. Like it was really important to him. And we kind of bonded over that because I also have always had this like deep connection to photographs. My grandparents, they were not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination and had 10 kids, deep South, but they had a camera in like the 40s and 50s. Wow. And so they had all of these photo albums at my grandparents' house. And I spent my childhood like just diving into those, and it was just so cool to see. So anyway, my father-in-law was also into photographs and he gave us this camera. And I just started taking a lot of photos of my kid. And it turns out my oldest has autism. So he didn't talk for a long time. And I think that was like, I was always trying to figure out like what was going on behind those big brown eyes. And so I was constantly pointing a camera in his face. And then I had two kids like right after that. So basically I fell into it. People were like, well, did you mean to like make this photo look so cool? Like, you know what I mean? I had no idea what I was really doing. Sure. But I think I just had a knack for it, like most of us, right? Like that's kind of how a lot of us kind of fall into it. Like, oh, somebody tells you you have a good eye or you should start charging for it. And then that's when I was like, okay. So I started doing that and quickly realized like what I did like to shoot and what I didn't want to shoot. Like I love my
Mm,
kids, but I really didn't want to shoot a whole bunch of other little kids.
sure, sure.
As one does. And
Right,
so
right.
I was like, definitely not newborns, definitely like, and it was in 2007. Yeah, between 2007 2008 when I really decided, seniors was really what I loved to photograph. And nobody was really doing it here in the area that I live in. I'm in Southern California in the suburbs. And I was like, why is no one doing this? We can shoot year round. Nobody was really doing that whole editorial thing. And so I was
Hmm.
like, this is perfect. This is a great opportunity for me to build a business. And that's kind of how it all started with seniors, because I do specialize with seniors. I do headshots and branding. I'm married to an actor. So I kind of like started doing headshots soon after I started my quote unquote business, right? I was like kind of like
Mm,
just testing the waters. And headshots was really easy for me to do because my husband's an actor and we have a plethora of actor friends. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I started that whole thing and quickly realized, oh, well, if I don't start charging money for this, this is a glorified, very expensive hobby. So, how am I going to make
right.
this work? Yeah.
Hmm. How did you, just because since, I mean, and you're from the South, so for senior photography is big there.
Hmm.
Is that why you were, because I was wondering how you realized that you loved seniors
Yeah.
since you were in California.
Yeah. So I moved to California when I was 25, but I was born and raised in like very, very deep South Louisiana. And I had my senior pictures done in 88. And girl, maybe I'll send you some so you could do so. Oh my gosh.
Uh,
They are
I would love
something.
to see them.
So I think I posted them on Instagram a few
Okay,
times. Like,
okay.
oh my gosh, like they're a trip. Big 80s hair. I think I have a cocktail in one. I'm not even joking.
Oh, I love
Like
it.
it looks like I can't even explain these, you guys. So anyway, yeah, they're a thing, right? Like they're a thing in the
Hmm.
South. They have been for a long time. Like my mom still has the 16 by 20 canvas of me in a white feather boa on her living room wall.
I love it.
I'm like, Mom, I have given you many canvases over the years of my children to replace. She's like, no, that's never going down. I paid a lot of money for that. So anyway, that's what I knew of them. And
Hmm.
then I moved to California. Nobody was really doing that, but I had photographer friends. Like by this point, I had been trying to connect with other photographers online, right? Like back in the
Hmm.
day,
Hmm.
like I said, like it was not that easy, like for us to find support, education, free resources. Like it just wasn't really a thing like it is now. And so
Right.
I spent a lot of my time trying to find that because I really needed a mentor. I really needed to know what I was doing and I needed to know how to run a business. And it was very hard to find. And so in that process, I did come across like people in the Midwest, in the South, who were doing that sort of, fashion editorial looking senior portraits. And I was like, well, that's what I love to do. Like in a perfect world, I'd love to be a fashion commercial photographer, but I'm not like formally trained. I don't know how to do all of that. So maybe I can like bring that to high school senior portraits. And little did I know, like it's way for me anyway, over the years, it's been way more rewarding
Mm,
than any other thing. Also, it's made me a lot of money. And I
mm.
mean, I've spoken with a lot of commercial photographers, even in the last like 2 years, who've come to me for coaching, who are like, okay, so I'm thinking that I need to like kind of be a portrait photographer. I'm like, yeah, that's how you make money. So anyway, it's been a really fun journey, but that's kind of how I fell into it. Like
Oh,
I just didn't see anybody doing it close to me. And I thought, hey, let's do it.
right. Well, and obviously it was a good
Mm-hmm.
decision.
It was. Yes.
And then I I know I met you through it was We Are the Scene when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
And I still can remember like the New Orleans, going to New Orleans for that like meetup and doing the styles. And I was still very like new at all of that, but that's when I met a lot of photography friends. And
Mm-hmm.
is that kind of where you were really loving doing the mentoring part?
Yeah. So it was Seniors Ignite. So
Mm,
before we became like We Are the Scene, so I got involved with Seniors Ignite very early on. I want to say, I don't know the exact year, but it had to be like 2011, 2010, like maybe somewhere, even maybe even before that. So because it had different ownership before you guys kind of came in. So
that's right.
anyway, I had been involved in it for a long time. So it might have even been before 2010. And it was an education platform, right? Like one of the first
I think,
that
yeah.
I know of.
Mm,
And they were doing these really cool things. Like they were doing these really cool like meetups, and like I had a model team. And so they were doing, workshops and things like that. But you could also bring people from your model team, and then they had the model contest. And so I was like, this is a great way for me to market my business, to kind of set myself apart by participating in something like that and being able to like offer that to my clients and offer it to my model team. And so I started going to these events. I want to say 2011, 2012. I started doing that. And then by 2013, they started asking me to come on as sort of like a mentor, right? Because
hmm
I'd never really done that, and it was not on my radar. Like I wasn't planning to like go into coaching or going into mentoring at all. But by 2013, 2014, they were the first ones who were like, you should really be doing this, because people are asking us like, how does Renee do this, blah blah blah. So I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And so that's how that whole thing just kind of started. I fell into mentoring, like I fell into photography, and I soon realized that I really loved that. So then people started asking me to mentor them one on one and things like that. I was still working with Seniors Ignite for a long time until they sort of, not they're not in business anymore. So like when I was with them until that basically occurred, right? But I was
hmm
still kind of doing mentoring as well on the side for myself. And what I found was that a lot of photographers were coming to me to figure out either like how I was shooting, or, you know, wanted to know how I was able to make money doing this. And so a lot of that sort of coaching as well. But what I figured out really quickly is that it was a lot of like psychological stuff that was coming up.
Got
And
it.
yeah,
Hmm
that's why I decided, oh, that's really what's going on. Like I could give you the blueprint and I can tell you exactly how I did it, but like why are you not doing it? You know what I
hmm
mean? Like it was
Right.
my first experience with that. And I was like, oh, okay, we gotta like fix that, so that then we can actually get you to implement that. So that's when I went back and started getting certifications in life coaching and things like that. Cause like psychology has always been my first love. I thought I was gonna be a therapist. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, that's kind of what I'm doing in a lot of my
Yeah,
coaching.
yeah. I feel like you are
And I love it.
right. Why do you think that so many photographers like they struggle with pricing,
Mm-hmm.
especially, I mean, I think I don't think it's even an early career thing. I think it's throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
Because we tie it to our worth. It's really as humans, we tie our worth and our self-worth and how we feel about ourselves to money. It's just like
Mm,
a natural sort of thing that we do. And
mm,
so, I mean, like I didn't realize that I had issues with money or had any sort of like money blocks, whatever you want to call it. I didn't realize I had any of that going on until I started asking people to pay me large amounts of money for something I was doing. Like it's
mhm,
just me, it's just my art. Like there's no one else here to blame. I'm not working for like a company. Yes, my business is charging, my business is paying taxes, but like it's me. And
mhm,
so like we feel really vulnerable in that moment of like, oh, okay, if you don't really like it, then how. And so we as artists, and because we're creatives too, like it's a very subjective thing.
mhm,
Art is just very subjective. So yeah, we might really love it and we might be, getting feedback from other people that, oh, you're good at what you do. But at the end of the day, like, especially when you start like looking at your pricing and realizing that you have to charge sustainable prices to be in business,
mhm,
that's when things get sticky. That's when you start realizing like, oh, okay, like I actually have to like stand in my worth here and own that. And so I think that's really where a lot of it comes from. And we all have different money stories. Most of them are not our own. They're just stories that we picked up from our parents, our caregivers, whoever, and
Mm-hmm.
we all have been told different things about it. Like money doesn't grow in trees. You have to work really hard for it. You know, why would you charge that much for a photograph? Like all of these preconceived notions and I call it like unconscious programming really because like it gets stuck in your unconscious mind essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just becomes a script that you tell yourself over and
Right.
over again in the background. And until you like rework that and really start to develop your own self-worth and stand in that confidence, it's always going to be hard to do it. Now, I'm not going to say like it ever like gets super easy. I mean, it definitely gets easier. It
Mm-hmm.
definitely does. But even now, when I have sales that are upwards of 15,000, there's still a moment where I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like a little, okay, you know, and you have to take a minute and be like, yes, the reason why this is happening is because, you know what I mean? You have to kind of like talk yourself through it. So I'm not
Yes.
saying that it ever goes completely away. It just gets bigger too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like, that's why it's important to like deal with it when you first notice it, because you do have to raise your prices over time if you want to be sustainable. And the more you charge, obviously, the more you're going to make. And so the bigger those issues get. Money's just an amplifier of who you
Mm-hmm.
already are.
Mm-hmm. Would you say with pricing, is that something? Because I'm thinking like for photographers that are like 1 to 3 years in, I mean, even in 20 years, I guess, that you should be looking at that every year
Yeah.
looking at your
Yeah.
pricing.
Especially in the beginning. I would say,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the beginning, like because most photographers I find they just sort of like, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing. And then they just start out somewhere really low, including most of, all of the digital images. That's how most people start out. They
Mm-hmm.
might look at competitors, they might, try and get a feel for what's going on. I never looked at anybody's pricing when I started my pricing.
Really? You
I still
didn't?
don't know. And
Wow.
I don't think anybody should.
Right.
I think that your pricing really needs to be based on what you need and want to make. And
Mm,
sometimes those are two very different things. What you actually need to make
right.
could be very different than what you want to make. And that's okay. You got to get real with yourself about that. Like, what do you actually want to make doing this? And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay to have that.
Mm-hmm. How, with you being you're a luxury full service photographer, what would you say is like the mind shift on something like that?
My very first senior shoot, I took three girls and I brought them to a cafe in town and we shot lifestyle basically in
Mm-hmm.
2007 and people were like, what is this? And I was like, well, you know what I mean? Like I shot individuals of them and we also did some
Sure.
group stuff, but I wanted to intentionally like kind of stand out. And so, yes, I started out doing that sort of pricing, all in, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
I quickly realized within a year and a half that that's not going to be sustainable for me because I was spending so much time, editing and just doing I was just working so much in my business.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, at the end of the day, I'm really not making any money. So I need to fix this. And so essentially, the making that switch from that to full service, that was an easy one for me just because I created this business really to stand out. And another way to stand out is your pricing, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
if there's a lot of competition at the bottom, we always hear that, but it's
Mm-hmm.
true. There's a lot of people competing for those $200, $300 photo shoots. Like, I never wanted to be, I never wanted to be part of that group, right? I wanted to like completely do something different, stand out. That's part of my why. Like I didn't realize it then, but that is like, I've just always been that person. Like if you're going to do something, I'm going to do the opposite. I don't know if I'm just
Mm-hmm.
very anti-authority or what, but like I never wanted to do what other people were doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, the full service experience was really easy because I wanted that kind of business. And that's one of the things you have to really ask yourself either early on or at some point. You got to really get real and say, what kind of business do I really want to run? Because a full service business isn't for everybody. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
And some people do like high volume and some people do like to shoot lots of different genres. That's not me. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
get very like clear
Mm-hmm.
on what do I want? What's going to fill my cup? How do I want my business to look? And okay, if I'm going to create this experience where they get hair and makeup and I'm like taking care of them every step of the way and I'm ordering these gorgeous albums, um, my prices really have to reflect that,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, to not
Mm-hmm.
just cover your cost of goods, but they have to be in alignment with what
Right.
you're offering. And so in that sense, when you're doing that, your pricing really does help you stand out in that way because not everybody is doing that,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Well, and I love that you said alignment because it's literally aligning everything. Because
Mm-hmm.
yes, like you said, you can go and get that $100, $200 shoot, but are you going to get the makeup, like all of the things and be
Mm-hmm.
the full service? I've come to that where lately in my small town, you'll have people like on the community board. They're they're looking for a reasonable priced
Yeah,
photographer.
I see this a lot
And
too.
if I get like tagged, I'm like, that's nice that you tagged me, but I'm not going to read because that's when I'll see it, like, because I'll get
Mm-hmm.
tagged. Um, but I'm like, no, I don't, that's not my
Yeah.
client. And I feel like it took me a very long time to know to say that and recognize like that's not my client and that's okay. That,
Yeah. A big part of it is knowing who you're talking to,
yeah.
right? Like when you're building it, you have to know,
Hmm.
like you just said, that's not your client. And a big piece of this is getting very, very clear on who that is. Because if you're not, if you don't have that awareness, then you can't speak directly to them. And the idea with all of this is that it should align with, your pricing, the experience, the messaging, is going to resonate and align
Mm,
with the right people. And it's not going to be a fit for other people. And that's okay.
right. And yeah, you just have to be okay that
Mm-hmm.
it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If there is a photographer listening right now that they want to raise their prices, but they're like just terrified to do it, is there like one step that, like first step, I guess, that you would recommend at
Well,
all?
I mean, for I would just say do it, but also
Hmm. Yeah.
honestly do it before you're ready and do it messy if you have to, but just do it because the longer you wait, the more burnt out you're going to be. But really, and I know that is an annoying thing to hear, by the way. Like I get it. And I'm not a really big advocate, just as a side note, of saying like just raise your prices. No. So the
Mm,
first step obviously would be look at your numbers. If you haven't run your numbers, a lot of people haven't, it's like on my form where people can book a call with me to chat about coaching. That's one of the things that I say, like, do you know your numbers? Have you run them? How much did you make last year? How
mm,
much are you projected to make this year? So I can get an idea, before I get on a call with people. And I got to tell you, a lot of photographers who have been in business for a long time, by the way, don't know their numbers. And
mm,
so if you haven't run, and I mean all of them, right? Like not just the cost of the goods that you might be selling. And if you're not full service and you're not offering products yet, you still have numbers in your business, like, insurance and, all of those pieces of software that you buy every month, all of the things
mhm,
that you need, every single thing that goes into running this business. And then you also need to audit your time.
mhm. I think that's the biggest.
Yep.
I'm still terrible at that I need.
It's hard.
It is. It is. And it's even like I do that with other things. Like if I'm helping with other volunteer things, like people are like, you need to audit your time of what you're actually spending
Mm-hmm.
doing all of that. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, yeah, that's definitely, I love that for your calls, that's on the form to just
Yeah.
have
Yeah. And
people.
it's very triggering for a lot of people. They're like, I don't know.
Mm,
Like
mm.
some people will be like, I don't know. I can't look at them because it's too stressful. And I'm like, okay, okay, let's start there.
Right.
And I get it. Trust me. Like I totally understand. Like the thing is that I understand all this. Like
Mhm.
I'm not some like financial guru. Trust me. Okay. Like I get it. Like I love to spend it too. Okay. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, like I also didn't really have, I think this is what a big a big difference maybe between myself and some other photographers in our industry or just in general. People do ask me like, well, what made you decide to go for, go full service and raise your prices, etc. Right? Like, what
Mhm.
made you want to do that? Well, I needed to make money at this. Like I had gotten to the point very quickly because my business took off very, very quickly. And before I knew it, I was really, really booked and I was really, really like on my way to burnout because I was working so
Mm.
much for so little. So I had to like quickly figure out a structure, at least that was going to protect my time, like we were just talking about, and make me more
Yes.
money. And like, yeah, my husband is a working actor and a writer, but you cannot rely on that business.
Right.
You
Right.
can't. Like,
Mhm.
yes, we've been very fortunate pre-COVID to like have him be a quote unquote working actor, but
Mhm.
he's not like an A-list movie star, right? Like it's a very fickle business. And the entertainment industry is like fraught with a lot of it's just very inconsistent. So I knew I couldn't rely on that. So it's not
Mm.
like I had a cushion. And
Oh, sure.
I
Mhm.
think that that was a really big reason why I committed to like the structure that I have with my pricing, which is I have session minimums and I have session fees and then I have minimum purchase requirements. And
Mhm.
so for me, I was like, I would rather at this point, if this isn't going to work, like I would rather just go to work at Starbucks at this point because like I am killing myself for this business
Mhm.
and spending way too many late nights editing for no money. I'm like I started this business so I could spend time with my kids and I literally never see them. So
Mm.
something's got to give. And I had to, I guess, kind of get to that point of like, well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And, I also had to make it work. And
Mm.
that's a big thing that I got to tell you, like, I don't see a lot of that in our
Mhm.
industry. Like, every now and then I do work with people who really do need to make this work. Like, it has to work. They have to bring some income in. But for most people, it wasn't as dire, let's say,
Mm.
as my
Mhm.
situation. And I
Sure.
realize now, like, of course, I'm like, oh, yeah, let's just start a business. Okay. That's not really consistent either, Renee. But like in my mind, I knew that I had to give it a shot. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, and in my mind, I was like, I'm going to give this like a full year. You know what I mean? I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to really, really commit to this pricing and live it and be it and rework this money stuff that I have. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Right.
Mhm.
I can always go find a job. Like it is what it is. Like I'll figure it out at that
Mm.
point.
Mhm.
But I kind of had to get to that point where I was ready to just go all in and commit to it. And I'm really glad I did because it has definitely served me very well for
Mhm.
sure. And I mean, I've had to be the breadwinner for multiple years now.
Mm.
So yeah.
Well, yeah. And I love that you gave yourself a year, that you were like, it wasn't just this isn't working. I'm gonna just
Yeah. You
go to
got it. Yeah.
Starbucks. Um, I worked at Starbucks, so and their insurance
Yeah.
was very good. So I
That's what I
totally
hear.
get, yeah. So I feel like giving yourself that year and that you were the situation you were in, I also feel like for people maybe if they're not in that, if they're like, oh, I'm not going to be the breadwinner, I'm not in that situation, but if they really want this
Mm-hmm.
to be and they don't want to just go find a job where they want to, this is what they want to do with their life, to look at it that way. And
Yes. You got to really want it. Like whatever you focus
Mhm.
on is going to grow, period.
Mhm.
And so it's just that most of us sort of like are unconsciously focused on stuff that we don't want. And we don't even realize that we're doing that. you know,
Mm-hmm.
that you have like sort of an unconscious script running in the background of what you don't want or like what you are trying to avoid, but what you resist will persist. So it's really important to get intentional with your thoughts. Like honestly, that is why I know mindset, that word gets thrown around a lot. And I mean, I kind of don't like it either at this point because it's been overused a lot, but that is what it is.
Mm.
You know, controlling your mind. Control might be a very hard word to use, but you do need to step into the driver's seat
Mm-hmm.
of all of this, because if you want to run a business that is sustainable, that is profitable, that gives you time, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably why you started it in the first place, time with your family, maybe because you don't want to work for other people. I totally get all that, right? Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us have that. And it's not that we, like you said, you know, I've worked many, many jobs. I waited tables for years, right?
Mm.
Like I can work anywhere, but like
Right.
I don't want to. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
Right.
want to, I want to do my own thing.
Right.
And if you really want that, and it's an idea, and it's something that you have, like, it's not letting you go, right? You've been thinking about this for a while. You really owe it to yourself to get curious about that and to lean into it. But I would say 100% commit to a time frame, like of at least a year of like really going for it,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're just kind of halfway doing it, then you're going to let yourself off the hook. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where
Mm-hmm.
everybody sort of like gets into trouble. So, you know, and that's one of my jobs as a coach, is to hold those people accountable who in the past have let themselves off the hook. Right. So, like, if you can't do it for yourself, there's a lot of people out there who can help you, friends in the industry, groups. Like, there's so many different resources now that we have that I didn't have access to. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool.
Time out, friends. Let's talk about what's in my cup every single morning. Coffee Roaster of Lincoln, Nebraska. Freshly roasted, full of flavor, and honestly, it's the real MVP of my morning routine. They ship anywhere in the US, no matter where you live. Nebraska's best can be in your mug too. Use code TOBTL for 5% off your online order. That's TOBTL. Or just hit that link in the show notes and thank me later. Support small, sip strong, stay caffeinated. If you are somebody that you're like, I want this, but I just need that person to kind of keep pushing me, get a coach, get Renee to be that person. Because for me, I'm one of those people that I don't want to disappoint.
Yeah.
So if I have somebody that's like, they're here to help me and I'm not doing the work, I'm going to be like, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
Renee's mad at me. Or, like, so that's just gonna push me to
Yeah.
keep moving. So I feel like if that is, if you're stuck or you're not sure, if you're in your first couple of years and you're just like, I just don't know how to be a full service or all of that, get a coach, get
Yeah.
Renee.
I mean, it's the fastest way. Like, if you don't, you know, there's a lot of us, but like the thing you have to think about too is that, I mean, in any industry, really, not even
Mm-hmm.
just ours, but the fastest way to build the business that you want is to literally just study with the person who's done what you've already, like, who's already
Mm.
done what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do.
Right.
So, you know, and there is a little bit of a difference too between like a mentor and a coach. I think, you know, mentors will teach you how they've done it, that their way, right? They
Mm-hmm.
know that way. They've done it. It's worked for them. They're successful doing it. They can replicate it. They have proof. Obviously, you need to vet anybody that you are looking into, of course. But all that to say, like, if someone is successful and they can prove it, right? Because you know, you don't know really what's going on underneath the hood of somebody's business, right? Like, they
Right.
could be out
Right.
there saying that they're doing all this, and you're like, are you? You know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? So be
Yep.
careful about
Yes.
that,
Mm-hmm.
because I hear a lot of horror stories too on my Zooms of people who have been burned by coaches, and that makes
Oh.
me so deeply angry. But that's a whole other story, and so I'm not going to get feisty today. But that is a big piece of it, right? So, like, you
Mm-hmm.
got to make sure that person can deliver as a mentor, but a coach is a little bit different in a way too, because a coach, like for me, I can teach you exactly how I've done it. And yes, a lot of my like educational materials, my courses, anything that I've created out there, like, yes, it is like my method that I've done. But inside of coaching is where we can individualize and customize
Mm,
it. Because just because it worked for me like this in my market over here in SoCal doesn't mean it's going to work for you on the East Coast in exactly the same way. Our target clients might be similar, but they're going to have differences. And so working with a coach, you're able to like really hone in on, okay, well, yeah, there's this way to do it. There's also this way to do it. What feels good to you? Because I also like
sure.
take into account people's human design charts and like personality tests and all these different things because I'm more interested in getting your business to work for you. It's not
Mm-hmm.
my business, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
want
Mm-hmm.
your business to be successful and profitable for you, for your
Mm-hmm.
life. And so there is, I think, a little difference between just straight mentoring and then coaching. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, we have a lot of options now in our industry, but it is the fastest way to get there. Truly,
Right.
it is.
Right. No, I agree. I think that, yeah, it totally is. And well, as you were talking, I was just thinking of like how having somebody tell, like the whole, like if you're in California, I'm in Nebraska, how my personality is, where, you know, I'm not one, even though people think I am. I'm not an extrovert, and I don't want, like, I'm not going to just, if you are my, waitress at a restaurant, I'm not going to be like, wow, would you do a photo shoot? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that person, but I know that there are people that are like that. So I love that you're taking into account that we're all we're all
Yeah.
different and we're all living in different places to help grow your business.
Yeah, for sure. And you can definitely take like, here's my, when I go over, like, for instance, with pricing, right, which is what we're talking about. But like when I'm working with somebody on their pricing, well, first I want to see what they've already done.
Mm,
Like, okay, what have you already done? How's it working? Obviously, if
hmm.
they're coming to me, it's not working. But like, you know what I mean? Like, what,
Right.
but are there pieces of it that you
That
like?
are, yeah. Hmm.
What feels good to you? Because like I can tell you what to do, but if it doesn't feel good to you and you have like all of these charge up emotions about it, like that's the other mindset piece of it is we work on the unconscious programming of why that feels triggering, of course. But all that to say, like the system itself or the structure itself might not be in alignment
Mm, hmm.
with what you want or sustainable for you, for that matter. There are certain things that I'm like, yeah, I think you should have like at least three different options for people. And I think that third option needs to be the price anchor. There's certain sales techniques that are in place because they work. And
Hmm.
so there are certain things that I do think you should consider. However, there is always a way to make it work for you,
Hmm.
like tweaking it slightly, fine tuning it, whatever it might be. And again, you got to test a lot of this
Right.
too, right? You got
Mm,
to test it out in your market. You got to like kind of actually implement it and like commit to it and do it and get the feedback
mm,
from what happened, right? Like,
hmm.
yeah, I liked this, I didn't like this. And I'm not talking about like just being uncomfortable selling because most everybody is uncomfortable selling to people. But I
Right.
always tell people like if you're in a photography business and you want to make money at this, you are in sales. So just
Hmm.
kind of like get used to that. It's just the way it goes. But I used to want to throw up before I went into my sales sessions. Like I used to get super nauseous
Yes.
and panic attack and all of that stuff. And so I totally get it. Like that's not what I'm yes, that's feedback, but it's just also information. And
Hmm.
so if on the other side of that, sales session is a really great sale, but also you are giving this person something absolutely incredible that only you can do that they came to you for. They came to
Hmm.
you and asked you for this service.
Hmm.
And they said, I want to pay you for this.
Hmm.
And you deliver something amazing. You need to get really comfortable owning that and saying, okay, I'm glad you love everything. And here's the price tag,
Hmm.
you know?
Yes. Yes. And it's like, say it and just be quiet. Don't try to
Yeah.
like,
Do not talk
yeah. Yeah.
too much.
Yes,
That's a
yes.
big sales. That's a very, very big lesson in sales is the person who talks the most loses.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want, before we have to wrap up, I wanted to get this question that I had put out on
Mhm.
Instagram saying that you were going to be on. And we had a little question here that I thought was really good. And I know that you said that you had kind of read it, but I'm going to read it again.
Mhm.
Let me kind of get, let's see. Okay. Uh, I want to know how Renee keeps the physical products plus digitals at a boutique pricing that holds its value for seniors, but then also offers a digital only package or collection for headshot and brand clients that may be at a lower price point because it's less involved and they don't have physical product in their collections. What's keeping it, or what's keeping a senior from saying they want the brand collection versus a senior collection? This is something I've wondered about, and thankfully it hasn't come up in my own business yet.
Yeah, no, it's a great question because yeah, I do headshots and I do branding and then I do seniors, which
Hmm.
is portraits. And so, yeah, for my headshot clients, I have a 30-minute, a 60-minute. You can get 2 digitals or 5 digitals. And then I have a branding session. So there's like a higher package and a lower package. And you can get 20 images or 50 images, right? So that's like an all in because those people actually really need the digitals for what they're coming to me for.
Sure.
And so my portrait pricing, so the short answer, and then I'll kind of try and elaborate on this a little bit, is that if your pricing is, you can't like necessarily have it so far away from each other. Like I can't have my portrait pricing at this premium price and then be like really really super low on the other side. They
Mm-hmm.
do kind of have to be somewhat like in the same vibe, let's say. But the real answer is that my portrait clients, when they come to me, when they ask me like, hey, I want a senior portrait, and I talk with them and we chat about what session's going to be right for them, they see my pricing, um, they don't even see the other pricing. So when they're
Mm-hmm.
sitting down in front of me and we're going over their images and their ordering session, I'm showing them the albums and all of this stuff. There is a section, like I do sell high res digitals as an option for those
Okay.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like with me, my seniors will get whatever they purchase, they get a web sized digital copy, right? Like, so if they buy an album and some prints or whatever, and they get like 30 images, they're going to get those 30 images digitally, but they're going to be web sized,
Mm-hmm.
meaning they can't print those.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very clear about all of this with my clients up front in the very beginning. Well, there's every now and then, and I mean like very rarely, I have
Mm-hmm.
clients who are like, who want the digitals. Most people come to you saying they want the digitals because they don't know any better. They just
Mm-hmm.
think that that's what is done. When you start to educate, this is all a lot about your client education,
Mm-hmm.
is like, okay, well, this is the kind of business that I run is full service. You're going to walk away with albums, blah, blah, blah. Like, and there's a reason you have to show the value why you're building it this way. But there is this option for people to buy high res digitals from me if they really want it. Like, I'm going to counsel them and say, like, that's great. If you want to buy these high res digital packages, they're not cheap. They're very, very high priced. They're almost high enough. They're high enough to be a price anchor, right? So they're not going to be cheap,
Mm-hmm.
and they can get them in bundles of like 10, 25, 40, and then 60 and up. So there's an option there, but the price is high and the
Mm-hmm.
single image price is high. So it doesn't really make sense for them to do that, because I tell them like, yeah, you're welcome to do it, but I can't control this printing. If you take it to Walmart, Costco, whatever, and it comes out looking orange, like that's on them. That's not
Mm-hmm.
on the file. I
Mm-hmm.
can control it when I'm working with my pro lab. And so most people in that education process realize very quickly, I don't really want the digitals. I'm going to get those website digitals. I'm good. That's all I
Mm-hmm.
care about. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the teenagers care about anyway, is
Right.
just to post on social. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't care if you print them. No.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like one, you definitely need to like educate the clients. But the other piece of it is like, they don't see this other pricing. They see the other pricing on my website, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
coming to me for branding. That is a
Mm-hmm.
whole different thing. They're not
Mm-hmm.
going to get the same experience. If they want just headshots, That's two images. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's an option. If you're a high school senior at the end of the day, if you're a high school senior and you want to book a branding session with me,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to talk about it. But at the end of the day, you can, but those aren't cheap either, is my whole
Sure.
point. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's not like they can come in and just get that for $500.
Right.
So on the other side of it, you might as well, right? Like, and really, like I said, at the end of the day, if that's what they really want, okay, that's fine. I can do
Mm-hmm.
that. I've never had that happen. You know what I mean? Like, I've just
Right.
never had that be a conversation. So I believe that there's a way to position all of this. You just have to be really clear about it, and you have to delineate. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is headshots, this is branding, like, so my branding sessions, I also call them content shoots. So like people will
Mm-hmm.
come to me for like content, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what that's for. That's more for, lifestyle things. Like, what I'm doing with seniors is different.
Mm-hmm.
It's, as you know, it's more legacy involved, and the albums that I offer are going to last for generations. And so it's built into my messaging, I guess, is like one of the main things. So all your messaging and all of your like client um, communication and education really needs to be dialed in, which means you have to have clarity on that
Mm-hmm.
first.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it does. It does.
Okay.
Renee, I could listen to you talk all day long. Like I was like,
Thanks.
just yeah. I mean, yeah. This was even for me. It's like I just am loving everything that you're saying, and um, going with that. How and do you have any openings for coaching or anything like that right now? And how can people find you?
Yeah, so I do have one spot open for one-on-one right now. I don't take on one-on-one clients year round, obviously.
Mm,
Main reason is because I still run a full-time photography business. So,
right.
I'm still out there doing it with y'all, and I love it. I've definitely pulled back a little bit over the last couple of
Mm,
years, but not that much. So I'm still running that business. And so going into fall, I normally sort of pull back a little bit on like my coaching just because of my own capacity. So yeah, right now I do have a one-on-one open, and I do them in a minimum of 3 months. So people
mm,
can sign on for 3 months, 6 months, or even a year. And it just depends on what they need, what they want. We hop on a call, chat about it, that kind of stuff. I'm
mm-hmm,
also signing up Elevate, which is my membership that is only open every 6 months.
mm-hmm.
I don't know when this is going to air, but that enrollment technically closes like later this week, or at least like right before July 1st, because we start July 1st.
Mm,
So we start July 1st, we go through December, and that is just a small group, under 20 female photographers. It's not for newbies, because all the women in the group have been in business for a bit. So I like to make sure that the vibe is right for everybody. I'm very protective of the group because most of these people who have been in this group have been with me for like 5 years, and
okay.
they just it's their safe space.
Right, right.
And
Yes.
I want to honor that and keep it a safe space. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Well, and I like that it's if they're in the same years, so
Yeah.
they're all probably going to be having those same questions and
Yeah, and we can cover a lot. Like, you get Voxer support with that as well. Like, I always have Voxer support built into my one-on-one coaching, meaning like you can kind of contact me whenever, you kind of have me in your back pocket. And I have that as a group thread on my Voxer for them. And we meet a couple times a month on Zoom, and they get access to some of my courses. So we cover like, you know, all kinds of things in that group. Because someone's always sort of dealing with something. You know what I mean? When you've got like
right.
15-ish photographers, there's a lot of different things that'll pop up in there, and there's a lot of vulnerable shares in there, right? Like, and that's what I wanted for that group. Like, I love coaching because of that aspect of it. Like, people always feel bad when they cry on coaching calls with me because they're like, oh my god, why am I crying? I'm like, no, this happens all the time. Like, don't stress. Like, I'm good. Like, don't even worry about that.
Right.
But because I want people to feel comfortable enough to do that. That's where we get to the good stuff. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Like we got to get to
Mm-hmm.
the good stuff. And that can still happen in this group, which is really rare, I think, in
Mm-hmm.
this industry and really special. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I'm very proud of that group too. So anyway, those are the two things that I've kind of got going on. And I'm also going to be revamping. I have like a signature senior photography course
Okay.
that I have had for years,
Mm-hmm.
but I am in the process of sort of like revamping, updating, like getting that really just sort of like mainly updated, right? Because like so many things have happened, just even technology wise in the last couple of years. And
Mm-hmm.
I've created so much content in there. I just want to make it more organized. All that to say, I'm going to be breaking that up into probably like a pricing, a marketing, and a shooting and posing. So like three
Mm.
sort of different areas for people because maybe not everybody needs all of that.
Sure.
Basically,
Sure.
you could bundle it or you could buy it
Mm.
each on its own kind of thing. And so I'm
Yeah.
reworking that and hoping to have that done by early fall. So just trying to create a little bit more work on your own pace education for people.
Oh, I love that. Well, awesome. So people can look for that in the fall. And then if you are not able to get into a coaching with Renee, you can listen to her on her podcast, Tried and True with a Dash of Woo. And you can
Mm-hmm.
hear that on any wherever
Mm-hmm.
you like to listen to your podcasts.
Yep.
And again, if you're like me and you love listening to Renee, you can just have her in your ears at all times.
Yeah, we talk about all kinds of stuff over there. It's not just photography related. It's a lot of mindset. It's a lot of woo sometimes. Sometimes we go very woo and sometimes we go very strategy. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
that's kind of that's my brain.
Hmm.
So I basically, I wanted to start a podcast for a long time and I the thing that was keeping me from doing it was because I couldn't figure out what direction to go in. I was like, I'm not going to
Mm.
create a podcast about photography and create a podcast about all this other stuff that I'm
Right,
into.
right.
That's too much work. I was like, you
Hmm.
know what? I'm just going to do it the way I want to do it. And some shows will be about this and some shows will be about that. And I honestly really love it because I need that kind of freedom.
Hmm. Well, and like you just said, it's freedom for how you want to do it. And if people want to just listen to the
Mm-hmm.
woo part or the photography part, they can. And so
Yes.
I think it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Or if
That's
you
one of
want
the
to live
things we're
into it
working.
all, like with it all, then yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But there's something I'm working on is creating playlists now that I have so many
Oh,
episodes.
yeah.
Is kind of like we're going through and like creating like playlists for themes, you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
like you said, if people are looking for so anyway, yeah, that would be on my site when we have that up and running on the podcast page. I'll have like, okay, are you in the mood for woo? Here's your playlist for this and so on.
Let everyone know. We can pretty much, again, we can find you on the podcast, but we can
Yeah.
find you on a lot of all socials, really, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty much all over the place. Just
Yeah.
at Renee Bowen pretty much everywhere. I'm like Renee underscore Bowen on TikTok. I'm still bitter about that. I'm like, damn it. I had everything just very clean. Renee Bowen everywhere.
Sure. Yes.
And I
Yes.
got on TikTok early, like 2019. How did I not get my
Get
name?
that's so crazy. Hmm.
Rude.
Rude. Very rude.
Anyway.
Well, again, thank you so much. And everybody go find Renee on socials and her podcast.
Yeah, come say hi. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the photo confession booth.
Hey, this is Renee Bowen. Okay, so I have definitely had some crazy, funny, weird moments in all the years I've been a photographer, especially with working with teenagers, right? But one in particular just made me laugh so much. So as much as we prepare these clients and tell them what to wear, what not to wear, including please do not wear colored underwear under white dresses and all of those kind of things. I had a girl show up for a session once and she had this white dress that she wanted to wear, obviously, and she had on like the hottest pink bra that you could possibly ever imagine. And I don't know why, but she didn't bring any other bra. Luckily enough, it worked with all the other outfits that she had, but for this particular dress, it wasn't going to work. And then going braless wasn't going to work either. And so I was like, okay, what size bra are you? And we wore the same size bra, and I had a nude bra, and I was like, okay, we're gonna trade. So we had to trade bras. So that was a really funny one. And thankfully it worked. But since then, this was a long time ago. And so since then I always carry some various different sizes of nude bras and sticky boobs and nipple covers in my trunk of my car now, so that we are well prepared, as well as clean nude underwear, because that happens a lot as well. So that's my funny little moment.
Okay, guys, that was a conversation, right? Thank you so much to Renee for sharing her wisdom on pricing, mindset, and what it really takes to build a full service photography business that's both successful and soulful. If you are ready to rewire your thinking about money and business, and you're inspired to try new pricing, or even just reset your mind, I want to hear from you. Tag me in your posts, DM me, or shout it from the rooftops, whatever it takes. And if you are truly, truly excited about this and want to dive in, get in touch with Renee. Do it. All of her stuff is linked in the show notes. Go find it. I'll be back soon with more behind-the-scenes insights, honest chats, and helpful tips to keep your photography business thriving. Until then, let's shut her up and shine, friends.